I was in Baltimore at Fox, at Fox 45. I was there for like 18 years in Baltimore as a chief. And then before that, I did weekends in Indianapolis at ABC. And then my first job was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Fort Wayne, Indiana. But it's okay, country's beautiful. And that's where I got my start. So Mississippi State grad, also Indiana University. That's my bachelor's. And I just love weather, and I love what I do. So I'm gonna pass it on and let folks introduce themselves, say a little something where they're from and what they're doing, and then we'll get started on our topic, and hopefully we'll have some time for questions at the end, because I know you have questions, so we'll begin here.
Oh, hello everyone, I'm Tania. There's my husband Cash in the front row. I had to give him a shout out for coming in to support me today. But I am a meteorologist right now at WBRC Fox 6 News in Birmingham, Alabama. Started off in Spokane, Washington, and then I had a job, a short-term temporary job, which was really fun, in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico. So kind of been at all the four corners. I graduated with my bachelor's in professional meteorology from Mississippi State University, and then my master's from Syracuse University in broadcast and digital journalism.
Good afternoon, friends, family, good old people. I'm Alan Seals, recently retired from a 37-year career in broadcast meteorology. Loving it, don't miss it, not looking back. Make sure your finances are right and you can retire. I'm not 65. Got many years to go before I get there, but do it right. Wow. Anyway, Albany, Georgia, my first job, 4 years in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I met my wife, Darlene. There she is. Worked here in Chicago, WGN, for like 6 years, and then MAQ, Channel 5, for a year. I taught at Columbia College, around the corner, for 2 years. Been in Mobile for 25 years, retired as a chief. Now I do weather consulting, weather photography, weather books. I cut the grass.
That's good.
And I do what I want to do when I feel like doing it. And I feel like being here.
Yeah. All right.
That's good.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for being here. My name is Demetrius Brown. I'm a meteorologist at NBC 10 Boston. I've been there for about a month and a half in Boston, so I'm brand new. I'm excited. Please pray for me during the winter. I'm a Southern boy from Georgia, University of Georgia graduate, and also Mississippi State, having worked in the Carolinas, Virginia, and Texas for a couple of years as well. But so glad to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Great. Hello everyone, happy Thursday. Andrew Humphrey, Chief Meteorologist, Fox 13 in Memphis, Tennessee. Briefly, grew up, loved weather, was terrible at football, made the team though, varsity, not a complete scrub, but was on the bench mostly. So Mom and Dad said, look, football may not work out, they're still being nice, follow what you love, what you know well. Came down to weather because of snow days, math and science when it wasn't a snow day. Found meteorology at Michigan, at MIT, the rest is history. Worked in DC, Toledo, Detroit, and now Memphis, Tennessee, a little CNN sprinkled in. Lifetime member of NABJ, highly recommend you stay members or become lifetime members if you can, as can afford it. It took me some time, but got there. Also co-founder of the Weather and Climate Task Force and founder of the Digital Journalism Task Force for NABJ. Wow. In short, that's me, and look forward to learning more about you and our topic today that we're talking about.
Excellent. And have a round of applause for these wonderful folks. So once again, I'm happy to see all your smiling faces here today. Beautiful to see you here at this conference. And let's take cover now how social media and AI are changing the game during severe weather. And this is put on by our task force. And we're new with NABJ because weather was not represented at NABJ forever. And that was actually one of the reasons I never really attended NABJ, because I didn't find out like it didn't feel home to me. And so, some of us got together and put that together, and we're so happy it is now alive, because even if you're a reporter, you notice a lot of stories are climate related, and we're seeing the shift in climate and how important it is with people along the coast, inland, flooding, fires, drought, tornadoes, strength of hurricanes, rapid intensification, populations getting really hammered, insurance companies, all of these things are related stories. So there's a way you can perfect that. And if you're a reporter and you're not in meteorology, you're a meteorologist, you should definitely, or not a meteorologist, you should definitely talk to that meteorology team if you're going out and doing a story, because you want to be well educated about what that topic is or what caused the damage or what have you. But our focus here is talking about how social media and AI are changing the game. And during like severe weather, it's usually rapid. We may know a few days out there's going to be a chance for severe storms in the midsection of the country along the coast. Like right now we have a potential of a tropical storm, a tropical depression forming in the Gulf. That's been flip-flopping. That's high information for Florida right now. But the thing is that how will that play out with you on social media? How does AI play into that? So with that, that's one of the main questions that a lot of us have with this new technology. How's that playing into the game? So I'm going to ask a few questions, and some of you guys, I'll direct the question to you, and you just take along with it. So I'll start with Alan. What are all the different flavors, applications in AI weather? Like if you think of AI weather, what are some of the things and applications that you can use with that?
Fortunately, I'm retired. Because this is big. The first application is, I guess, weather is data. It's all data. And for us, and especially for me, what's been great about being near retirement is my forecasting was based on pattern recognition. If I see a trough, I know what's coming. I could tell if a tropical wave is coming in by just glancing at the map. And AI does that like that. And what we're seeing, at least in research, is AI can forecast the weather extremely well. Not that it will, but it can. So the first application is quicker forecasts, hopefully more accurate forecasts. I'll end right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, if you don't mind. And if you don't mind, how many folks in the room are meteorologists or weathercasters or climate experts? Good. How many folks are general assignment reporters who have and will cover weather, climate, or environmental stories? And last but not least, who in here are news managers, from executive producers through general managers or regional directors of networks? Photographers. And who are photographers? And or editors. Good, thank you, appreciate it. So, to piggyback off of what Mr. Seals, Alan, said, really, when it comes, whether it's severe weather or benign weather, for the meteorologists in the room, every aspect of your observation, analysis, and forecasting, and then communication of it, whether it's immediate in terms of doing the weathercast, or afterward, basically marketing it onto social media, just basically slap AI onto all of it, and you'll find an application. Everything from, as Alan mentioned, forecasting and numerical models. I don't know how many of you went to AMS's last, not only the broadcast conference, which was in June, but also the annual conference that was in January, early February. Artificial intelligence was a hot topic when it came to numerical modeling. And when you attended those sessions, there was a lot of computers. You think we're nerds. The folks in those rooms, they are nerds to the nth degree, all right? But in the realm of computer programming, numerical analysis, and these computer models. You might not understand the specific terminology they're talking about, like the types of programs or some of the programming languages or aspects of it, but you get the general sense of how it all fits together when it comes to weather forecasting and numerical models. So in forecasting and numerical models, that's how AI is now involved and will increasingly be so. When it comes to communication, or when it comes to research on weather or weather-adjacent stories, I don't mind sharing this experience with you. Everyone knew about, of course, the total solar eclipse that was this past April, all right? And we talked about it in all aspects, whether you're in the path of totality or not. And something as simple as, hey, if you're going through the path of totality, how should you prepare? How do you need to protect your eyes? What is the weather going to be on that day? For myself, just on my own, behind the scenes, using it in my story preparation, simply going on to ChatGPT or something similar to that, whether it's Copilot, Gemini, or Perplexity, just simply asking, okay, what are the best ways to stay safe during this total solar eclipse? Tell me about past solar eclipses and where they will be. Where will the next path of totality be? What will the dates be? What's the best location there? Just as general facts and background, not to take it at face value, but still comparing that to also doing some thorough research to making sure that was accurate as well. And then when you're done with your weathercast, when it comes to promoting it, how can one use AI technology or an AI tool to basically automate the forecast or broadcast that you already performed on either all your social media platforms for the future, so that the audience gets to know who you are and what you're talking about.
Yeah, because one of the things that we are competing with are our phones, and people at home have this ability. You know, back in the day, people had 3 channels to turn to, then Fox came along. Oh, well, 4, because we had PBS and we watched Sesame Street stuff. But other than that, it was 4 channels. And then you got cable, and then you had all these other things that eventually happened through the 80s and 90s. Now we have the cell phone technology and right in your hand. So we're competing with that. And with that question, I asked, what can AI do better than a human in weather?
Okay, so I had to come prepared. I actually love using different AI tools, so I came up with a list of the best uses of AI and all the different AI tools that you can use. So I'll pass this around later, and you guys can take a picture of it, or like just keep the sheet. But I do think whether you're a meteorologist, whether you're a broadcast journalist, no matter what you're doing, the one main thing that AI is going to be able to help you at is to simplify some of those daily tasks that you already have. Like you were just mentioning, you know, creating graphics or coming up with a certain social media topic or something to promote, how to promote it, best social media strategy. So those are the best ways I think you can implement AI. But when it comes to like putting it in the aspect of using it for severe weather and going back to your question, what I think AI is going to do best at is, number one, identifying any patterns or trends and things like that. As far as pinpointing a tornado the day of, I don't think it's not there yet, you know? But also enhancing visualization. So when we're creating graphics and when we're creating simulations and things like that, I do think that AI is going to have that capability of putting those things together for us to make our daily tasks a lot more simpler. So as far as your question, when it comes to AI, you got to know how to give it a certain prompt so that it can give you what you want. And so it's all about being a good like human computer user, really, and knowing what information to input in it for you to get a better output. So how you use it is what you're going to get.
So I want to add, so your question was like also what does it do better than just human? From a viewer standpoint, I feel like AI is there, ready, available for anybody at any point of the day that they want it. Like traditional news, we go on at 4, 5, 6. You could go into an application and ask about the weather, and it'll give it to you right then and there. That's something that we can't do when we want to do it, because we're not on the air all the time. So for folks who may have Alexa at home and say, Alexa, what's the forecast today? Alexa gives you the forecast. Okay, you make your decision. You don't have to go watch television at all, you know? I mean, you could get on an app as well, but I feel like with AI, it will give you, from the viewer standpoint, that forecast immediately when you want it, and you can just go on with your day. And so we can't always instantly get on when people want it.
That might be the edge.
That's
right. A little bit of an edge, right?
Right. But they don't get your smile.
That's what I was just about to say.
Right, exactly.
So use AI
yes.
to help you show off your personality, who you are digitally, you know, give you some better ideas and creativity so you don't have to think too hard now, you know. Limit your thinking, save some energy, use AI to your advantage to come up with better ways to show up online so that people, when they're tuning in, they're not just tuning in for the weather, they're tuning in for you.
Right. Very good. So Alan, I'm going to throw this one beginning with you. What aspects of severe weather coverage will never change regardless of AI?
The most important part, and that is human eye-to-eye contact and emotion. And I think the stereotype of AI is a cartoonish caricature that looks like you and sounds like you. But it's amazing when we communicate, the slightest change. If I'm talking and I see Dominis's eyebrow go up, I was like, oh, he didn't understand what I just said. Or if I'm talking and he's doing this, it's like, okay, I'm not saying something right. Or there's something on my nose. But AI can't get that the same way, especially for bad information or scary information. You need a human being, a human touch to take your hand and walk you through what you're dealing with. So with that communication aspect of emotion and heart and empathy, I don't see AI ever getting to that point. It can fake it, but it can't really do it.
But again, as we know, we recognize that although it doesn't exist too much now, we know that there are folks, there are entrepreneurs, there are computer scientists, there are folks in the realm of AI who are trying to make that so.
Yeah.
All right. But the fortunate thing is, a lot of this technology, or a lot of these capabilities, a lot of these tools are open for all of us. So it's important to make sure that you're not used by the tools, but you actually use the tools. Right?
Yeah.
Make sure you use the computer, you use AI. Don't let the computer, don't let AI use you. So do what you can right now, because many of us are basically starting on the same level of expertise or know-how, so to say. I mean, all of us as a human collective, or at least in the United States. So everyone's basically starting at the ground level, and the field is wide open. So the more that you can understand these tools, how they work, and how you can use them, the more that you can go ahead and take control of it and therefore take ownership. That means taking ownership of your own profile, taking ownership of your own identity. Many of you are already familiar with AI clones. You have your own personal profile that exists. Instagram, I follow you. Twitter, I follow you. Facebook, we're friends on there. Friends. And literal friends in real life, of course. We're friends on all these platforms. We're followers of each other on all these platforms, okay? And we see our personal profile there. There's also an AI clone or digital profile. We've seen others do it. Okay, understand how to use those tools to go ahead and see how we can create our own AI clones of ourselves and therefore own that, all right? So if the technology progresses to the extent or gets closer to, although may not ever reaching completely, the level of human emotion and forethought and caring that an actual human being does, but they're working on every day, the closer it gets to it, you're already at the ready with your own AI clone or AI profile that can achieve that same level as well. And now's the time to go ahead and get a head start on that.
Okay, yes.
Just a quick caution for everybody. Read your job contract carefully.
Yes.
The whole thing about your station, basically they lease your image for the term of your contract, but you have to read carefully what they can do with the material you created, your voice, your image, when you're gone, and even when you're there. So read it carefully.
It's just like a college athlete, name, image, and likeness. NIL contracts, what folks are concerned about or working with regard to college sports, or in the music world, these terrible 360 deals where music companies essentially own everything about the artist that's signed to a record label. Same thing in the realm of broadcast, well, whatever you want to call broadcasting or media, traditional broadcasting or whatever it's going to be in the future. Read those contracts, understand what social media properties do you already own, all right?
Yeah.
Anything, whether or not when you create something after you sign a contract, do you get to own that, or does your media company have a part or full ownership in that? And same thing with your name, image, and likeness. That literally means your face, your body from head to toe, front, back, both sides. It means your voice as well, your voice print. All intonations, all volumes, all levels of inflection as well.
Yeah, that's very important. That's one of the things you have to really, when you do your contracts, make sure you know. I have a friend who actually did a book, and they actually had to leave their company because they did not want to let them sponsor a children's book in weather. So they left. And they're doing well. I won't give names because maybe you know who they are, but I just won't say. That's one of those things you have to watch out for. So make sure you sign. Like I told you, I DJ for fun on the side. It's DJ. I mean, I'm doing music. So I did DJV. And when I went to do my contract, I said, I want that written out. If I do anything, I can go DJ a Christmas party at the NBC station across the street for their holiday party. But you chief meteorologist here. I'm like, but I'm doing their music. I'm not chief meteorologist over there. I'm DJV. So that's different. So that's why, you know, I made sure to write that out and make sure you know that. But that's another topic. We'll have to do another one on contracts and then we'll do that. But we'll get back to
But with regard to social media, in this topic and with regard to social media and severe weather, we're all those of you who are meteorologists and weather experts and climate experts in the room, all of us are very passionate about what we do. We're passionate about weather, we're passionate about severe weather and saving people and saving property and saving pets, right? So the way it comes back to social media is, if let's take Facebook for example. Say you have a Facebook fan page, whether you started before you're at your station or during your station. Make sure you know that you still own that and can still broadcast on that, transmit on that once you leave a station. Because all of us have been in between jobs before for one reason or another. Make sure that you still have control, administration protocols, and permissions to go, and no one else does, so that you can go ahead and retain your social media profile and continue using it to its fullest extent. Or whether you need to be prepared, and yes, the media station happens to own it, so I need to be prepared to create something either from scratch or build something from something that might have been on the side, or you might have had a secondary profile anyway and build that up.
Right, yeah, because you'd be like us. We went through that when I came down from Baltimore. They wanted us to get rid of our individual and just do straight onto the CBS Web page. I'm like, well, what about all the follows, the tens of thousands I got from Baltimore? I mean, they still watch it. They're like, well, we wanted to go to our account for CBS Web. So there was a whole battle with all of our weather team on that, and they were kind of frustrated when they tried to switch that over.
Or folks who built up a following of thousands of followers during their time at a station or at a company. They're out of the company now, and the company owns it and says, okay, we're going to delete all that now.
Delete that. So look at my 120,000 followers, doing this, and then it's like, wait, I'm back to zero. I'm starting again. And because they own that property. So that's something good to know. Now I'm going to swing it over to you, Tania. So what things have you seen through this new age of social media? What have you seen, like the positives and the negatives? Because, as we broadcast, you're going to see all kinds of things on there represented for weather. Like, what can you trust those sources or not?
Well, number one, I think that social media just makes information spread so fast. And that could be a good thing and a bad thing. You get information quickly, but not all the time is it accurate or is it correct. So you do have to be very careful, and we all know that as journalists in here, what information you're receiving online. And I do think the one thing that AI could probably do is maybe fact check some of those things for you, help you figure out what sources to, find, to search things up, to make sure that it's accurate. But that's one of the positives and negatives. You get information quickly, but it can also be inaccurate if you get it too fast.
Yeah, if you see a picture of there's a flooding in your neighborhood, and there's a shark in the neighborhood's front, they say, hey, we spotted was a shark here. You're like, wait, Google doesn't have any sharks. So it's like, double checking. Those will pop up. You've seen them. You've seen the alligator. I've done an alligator alley down there. We see them, but not really. Maybe in downtown West Palm or in a bank, whatever. It's interesting.
Everybody's looking for their their viral moment.
Their viral moment.
It's something I was going to bring up because, especially when it comes to severe weather, there are a lot of folks out there on Twitter or X and some other platforms who have their own page, and they are weather fanatics. I don't know if they have a degree or not, but they have a bunch of followers, and so some folks get their weather information from them. It could be severe weather as well. So I think it's a negative, maybe a con, but also a challenge for us too, because somehow they're tapping into people, and getting that attention, and we're not getting that at times.
That's because they're wearing a cat suit. You got to put on that cat suit.
Maybe that's what it is.
You got to put, we got to have some,
And someone brought up a name yesterday, and I can't remember the person's name, but he's very famous on Twitter, and he often gets on, and he does severe weather, does his own forecast, and they're like, I think
it's YouTuber. Is it a YouTuber? I think I know what you're talking about.
That's the one.
Wait, which one?
Yeah,
Yes, you all know who I'm talking about,
right? And you follow him. See, what y'all come on.
But I say that to say, people are depending on folks like that, whereas for degree trained meteorologists, we haven't been able to tap into that. Not everybody's been able to tap into that. So it's like, then, what are they disseminating? Is it truthful? Is it sound fact from science, or are they just getting on Twitter just to get likes?
Yeah.
And maybe we haven't done that personally. It doesn't mean that we cannot.
Right. Yes.
Of course. At least play around and practice with it a little bit, or understand. Okay, this person is happens to be very popular, has a large following, whether it's on YouTube or one of the other social media platforms. How did they do it? Everything from the cameras, the microphones, to how they simply plan their day and how they plan their schedule in terms of broadcasting, or how they assemble or grow their network of weather watchers and severe weather followers anywhere in a particular region or across the country.
And then after that, ask yourself, am I willing to do that?
Yeah.
Right.
And if the answer is no, live your life, do the best where you are, and serve the people you serve the best you can. Don't compete. To me, this is the coolest thing. People on my Facebook page keep saying, well, you're going to cover our severe weather in our hurricane season? I say, no, I'm retired. I have no ego and no pressure to feel I need to outdo anybody. I just need to be the best I can be doing what I do.
And keep in mind, it doesn't always, when you're at your shop, if you have these ideas and of course it depends on the shop and it depends on the people that you work with, all right? So you have to know your own sensibilities of what your newsroom and station environment are. But when you think about these ideas and trying to do something on your own, so to speak, one does not immediately have to have the mindset of an us versus them type of thing. I'm this meteorologist at the station, and for one reason or another, I all of a sudden get this idea in my mind, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it on my own. Remember, the folks that you work with from the so-called at all levels, have years, if not decades, worth of experience in media, in broadcasting. They're your colleagues. So maybe this is an idea that is of value, not only to yourself, but the colleagues around you and the station around you, that I will selfishly say you can get recognized for, all right, by your managers and by the company. So maybe that's an idea you can bring to the table, because the things that these other folks, that many other experts, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on any of the other social media platforms, every aspect of their product that you've seen they've built up, I mean, they're using maybe the same cameras that you already have at the station, the same microphones that they're already at the station. Maybe you have better graphics than what they have right now. All right? How can I maybe bring that idea to the table so your station can do that also? And therefore, you're bringing value to the station. That means that the folks at the station, not just managers, but people who you work with day in and day out, from the floor manager to the director to the sound engineer, recognize that value within you as well.
On that topic, some of us have been, we have all different levels of being in the business. So some of us retired and been in it for 30 plus years. Retired. I've done it for 28 years. I've been in meteorology. You've been in it for?
X years.
Okay, X years. Okay. X-Men. Yeah. Okay, but different levels of 30, 20.
Gotta fight ageism because I'm so young.
I don't see no grade. You good. So the point is that we all have different levels. So this next question is kind of probably coming from more folks who are just getting into biz. 1, 2 years in, 3 years in. You have a long road ahead of you with so much more difference. It's rapidly changing in the last 5 years. And when you think of where we are now, what to expect another 5. And add in all the climate shift and change in the world, it's going to rapidly change even more greater. So the question being, and I'll start off with our designated retiree here, AERP over here. Let's see. You had AMS, now it's AERP. So here we go. Do you think AI replaces meteorology? Or meteorologists, that is?
No, it can, because we're human. And
there you go.
Based on what Andrew was just saying, it reminded me, AI can't humanly give you bad or scary information. But AI, and maybe I'll be challenged on this, AI cannot do stand-up comedy. And back to those YouTube famous people, they are famous because they do comedy, drama, and excess. I just saw the movie Twisters, which is all about personality versus science. They are heavy on personality, and that's why they get the views. But those of you and us who have been doing this know that when it hits the fan, people want credibility, and they're going to leave the personality to go to the one they trust as a human being. Repeat the question. I got lost there.
Will it replace?
Will it replace? No. It will. And there was an AI session this morning. It changes the balance of how many forecasters NOAA is going to hire. It changes the balance of how many programmers and IT people companies are going to hire. And I think it may change the balance of some weather teams, but I don't see it replacing that human communication aspect. That's where we shine as meteorologists.
Okay.
And especially during severe weather moments, hurricanes, we can explain certain things and show certain things as opposed to what maybe AI cannot do because it doesn't have that human element. And we know our local areas better than what, you know what I mean? Like where some areas may flood more. Go ahead.
And Dominis can get on TV and say, remember last week when you saw me salsa dancing on my social media? He can connect what's personal, what's real with, the rhythm of a salsa dance with the rhythm of the jet stream.
Right.
People say, oh,
Wait,
okay.
I don't believe that. Did you show us that? Wait, I got it on my phone. Here, let's, no, but continue with that, Dominis. What do you think is Is AI the same as forecast modeling? Is it the same?
Is it the same as forecast modeling?
Yeah, is AI. Is it separate or same?
You know, I mean, I think as Alan was saying earlier, there are some things that AI can do much better. I know we have a lot of supercomputers, you know, that we rely on in order to have certain models come out a few times a day. They get every day. Something I think you sent out to us recently was that AI almost perfectly forecast the landfall of Hurricane Beryl in Texas, whereas the other models, European models, GFS, the other ones did not. So then we're pushing it more toward Mexico, and that's what they were doing for a while. But several days out, AI had the track almost perfect and landfall almost perfect as well. Now after that, it's different, right? It's not going to talk about the flooding and all the other local aspects, but at least AI, several days in advance, did it much better than what our typical hurricane models forecast.
Alan mentioned at the beginning of the one of the first things he said regarding artificial intelligence in this workshop was pattern recognition. And so that's what artificial intelligence, machine learning is all about. Learning and understanding what patterns exist right now in the real world with regard to the atmosphere, its interaction with the ocean and the land, and forecasting what patterns exist, what were the forecasts, how accurate they were, and if they weren't accurate, how to improve them. It's just like when I interned and worked at the National Weather Service for a little bit at NCEP, National Center for Environmental Prediction. It's akin to, on the human level, back in the day, computer models would come out at that time maybe twice, or at least some of the main models will come out just twice a day, one at 0Z, one at 12Z, one basically at breakfast time, another one at dinner time. But there would be discussions of each of those models 12 hours later or 24 hours later, and the group of meteorologists would get together and go ahead and dissect those models that came out at those two specific times, how well they did with their forecasting, all right? And where were they accurate? And if they were inaccurate, what aspects of those computer models from the initialization, from the first set of real truth data that they used to go ahead and predict the future, what aspects of them were missed and what ones were not missed. Doing that on a human level, AI is simply trying to do the same thing to improve computer modeling or improve their forecasts on a regular basis.
But it's doing a better job far in advance, as opposed to and much faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Much faster.
Yeah, much faster.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
What I find is that it's taking all the, one of the things AI does is it takes a spot here, because it's not so much reading the future yet, I feel. It's more like taking the spot here and looking at all the historical data, because it can grab all that quickly, and then it takes what you have, if you have modeling data, and go off of historical. Well, generally this is with all the parameters, pulling all that knowledge together and saying something's going to go here. Now, can it forecast a tornado touching down in this county with this line of storms potentially? I mean, I don't know if we're that advanced yet.
I don't know.
So let me touch on that, because this is going to be the challenge for all the forecasters. Right now, with a hurricane or tropical storm, we know, okay, the models now every 6 hours, and you get the hourly models. And while you're on the air talking about, here's the latest information, when it's possible, somebody with AI capability is going to release models that are contradicting what you're saying while you're talking about it. And now your audience is wondering, well, I just saw all over my feeds this new track model, but you're not saying anything about it because you haven't seen it. You're in the middle of a sentence. And with regard to tornado forecasting, I haven't followed it closely, but there's a lot of stuff out there where people are attempting to forecast convection and location of tornadoes. There's been some accuracy up to 30 minutes before Genesis. And it's not to say it's operational, but I don't think it's far away.
So, did you see that in Twister?
No.
It was in there.
It's also there. But the point is that your big challenge is going to be accessing that information and embracing it. And for me, even as I was getting close to retirement, looking at the high resolution rapid refresh model that comes out every hour, it finally hit me last year that this thing is really good. I cannot outforecast this model. And my ego for years said, oh, I'm better than that. But at some point, it's like, okay, I need to follow this data. So that's where you're going, I think, with AI.
Andrew.
We're not there yet, but it's coming.
But you'll notice in the story that Alan just mentioned, there's still a human being involved in there someplace, especially a human being at the final stage, and that is communicating what the weather is going to be. And before that, taking a look at the output of that AI model, whether it's GraphCast or anything else, and interpreting it and understanding what's relevant about it, what may not be relevant about it, all right? So again, as Al mentioned, embracing all of it, not seeing it necessarily as a competitor, but maybe opening up a new pathway. When Alan said he was kicking himself about, okay, I thought it was more accurate than these models, well, it seems that it opens up another avenue or another opportunity of employment or another opportunity of participation from another human being or a human being to do another task of, just like when we interpret the relevance of computer models that exist now. Okay, now go ahead and add AI to the mix and start interpreting that and understanding the relevance of that. And maybe that's a possibility for either another human being or another task for the human beings who are already in place.
Right. And for sake of time, I want to go with each panelist with a final thought, and then we're going to open up the floor for questions that you can ask us about the topic. We'll begin with you. Final thought on AI, forecasting, and future.
I think what it boils down to is really just knowing how to use it to your benefit. You know, it's not going to replace us, but you want to make sure that whatever information you're getting using ChatGPT, making sure that it's accurate, and if things are changing very rapidly, make sure that you can keep up. So like, even if your forecast before, say for instance, you were live on air and you're talking and something did change, come back. People want to hear that human aspect and just say, hey, listen, we have some updates on this. And that's what people like to see. I think that's the human aspect that AI is never going to bring us. But the reason why people still watch the news in general, and the times I get the most views, is when people see us be human. You know, they like to see when we're laughing and we're joking and we're showing off our outfits. But yes, also, you know, it's true though. But you know, if you're using AI, I do think that it can make your job a lot easier and more beneficial to you, and you don't have to stress as much, but you just want to make sure that you figure out the best ways to use it.
All of the above. Don't fear it. Embrace it. No matter what you do in life, it's going to be there. Everywhere you go, everything we do, it's all integrated. So definitely embrace it and try to learn from it and figure out how to what's the big word? How to make the most out of it.
Right. But no, I have to agree with you guys. You have to embrace it. There's so much that's going to change with AI, you know, even later this year, I'm sure, in the next couple of years. So I think we have to continue to educate ourselves about it and figure out the best ways to use it, and also to help us forecast it and give better forecasts for others too. But even with social media, you know, check your sources. You know, when you do see forecasts out there, you know, it's always interesting to see people when they forecast snow, you know, especially the South, you know what I mean? And if DFS goes, it's going to be, you know, 11 inches of snow in South Carolina. Like, no, it's not going to be good, you know what I mean? But just check your sources as well, because there's a lot of information out there. We just have to be very careful about that.
And again, we're in the news weather business, so there's news and weather that we're passionate about, but this is also a business. And will there be a story, or there are already AI news anchors out there right now. Is it possible that either an individual station or even a whole station group or a portion of a station group could replace some anchors or reporters with an AI clone? Yes, that's a possibility. It may splash the headlines for a little bit. But keep in mind, it's also a business. So that just might be, I dare say, a temporary thing, because that was most fiscally responsible or would help the company or station survive for that period of time. All right? Save on the overhead to put in this AI clone until they can get themselves on their feet financially, or they learn from the audience that maybe audience viewership will dip and they need to keep human beings there or bring even more human beings back. It's analogous to when we go to the grocery store. Many of us may use the self-checkout line, no matter what the grocery store or retail store might be. Many of them have now found out, hey, our shoplifting has gone up because folks are just simply walking out of the store and racing right through the automated checkout line. So we got to bring people back, cashiers back, all right? So that may be analogous to our industry, the weather news business as well.
And one thing I'll throw in before I throw it to the audience is that I think being that we're broadcasters and we all work in newsrooms and news operations, I think it's important with this new technology that we embrace it and be like directing it for our weather team. In other words, you can have a news director that steps in and, oh, we got this new thing and we're coming to you, we want you to do this. Well, they might not have the whole idea of the weather aspect behind it. They may have an okay idea, but it'd be better you approach the news director and say, I've been working on this project with AI, implementing something with that we can do online, and we can do this with Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and they'll be like, oh, impressive, let me see what you got, let me see your portfolio, let's see what you're talking about, versus you trying to catch up. It's better that you're ahead of the game. You know this is coming, so you might as well already embrace it and lead it. So if you got the leadership, I think the leadership role is going to come out better for you. So with that being said, I know you guys may have some questions for our panelists. Feel free to ask whatever you like, please. And please speak up and say your name and where you're from.
I'm Brett. I'm from Chicago. I've seen some people, I think maybe at Fox, who, when they tell the forecast, they have the AI kind of behind them animating what's happening. Or they'll have like the flood level, water moving. Have you guys used things like that yet?
No, what you're talking about there is something called augmented reality. It's not, there's a difference, but it's not necessarily completely separate from AI, because you can slap AI on top of that and go ahead and add an AI tool so you can generate graphics like that, or augmented reality more rapidly, in case time is of the essence. But yes, many shops actually do use augmented reality. I don't know if any other panelists wanted to share their experiences.
Yeah, you guys
I've used it.
Yeah, we use it too.
I've used it at CBS, and we have it also at NBC 10 Boston. And so, I mean, it's a great way to use and also explain certain things when you have the time to do it. I always say, if you have something that you really want to do a deep dive in, maybe talk to the producers and see if you have more time in order to do it, and make sure the directors know as well. So you can do some really creative things with it, like very creative things.
Yeah, there's like 3D a little bit.
Yeah.
You walk, some sets are really big, have a whole green screen around you, so you can walk on this thing, have temperatures rise up on a thing. We did a flooding thing with storm surge. So we walk around the house, the storm surge is flowing in, and you're showing it coming in. Weather Channel does some real cool stuff. You see, those guys down there doing it. But it's a special thing that you can have WSI.
But just like artificial intelligence can cut out, if you're not a programmer, it can cut out the programming side and do it for you if you want to create a website, for example, or tell a computer to do a task. AI can be laid on top of augmented reality. So instead of either going through the tedious or confusing work of how to actually draw or program a computer to create the augmented reality scene we're looking for, artificial intelligence, I'm not aware of any tools that do it now. If it exists now or it can exist in the future, actually doing it. Since I don't know if it exists now, maybe one of you could invent it.
I mean,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, AR is so fun to use, but it's a pain to build.
It's a lot of work.
You gotta have time, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if we can get AI to the point where it helps us on our day-to-day tasks, because I'm telling you, all of our jobs, they're just loading more and more tasks on us. So if we can use AI to build things a lot quicker, and then with less mistakes on it on top of that, so that it actually moves right, because if the water's on top of you, what's the point? We need to come from the ground.
And let's have our graphics spell checked, please.
That too.
I have the worst speller.
That would be nice.
I will be quickly, I need to make this graphic. Right. Click, and I don't spell check it, and it does, and WSI doesn't have spell check. You think it would, right? I've been fussing on a long time, and then also I put on there, my producers that you spelled Merry Christmas, not Christmas.
Yep.
I'm like, and you're like,
Should we get a graphic
5th of July instead of Happy 4th of July. I mean, easy mistakes, we all make them, but the thing, that's part of our human part.
Yeah. So I was going to add the AR stuff. Over the course of all of TV, but especially weather, we've gone through these periods of gimmicks or things that consultants said, this is it. And then 3 years later, people are like, oh, what's that? Still, the bottom line is, if you can't explain what that is, you can't do your job. So you got to know your stuff, and you got to understand, we're storytellers, number one. So even with the best data, the best AI, the best AR, if you don't know how to explain what's behind you, that's it, you're done.
That's true.
And to make that analysis again to current events, you hear about DALL-E and creating images from a text prompt or from a voice prompt, or Sora creating a movie from a text prompt or a voice prompt, and therefore everyone has maybe heard in the news, many folks have heard in the news, for example, movie executives or entrepreneurs like Tyler Perry are now not going to their studio because they see what Sora can do in terms of creating a movie. Same thing is analogous to computer generation, graphics, and augmented reality.
Hi guys, this might be a little bit off coding than AI, but I have noticed a lot more people talking about using Python to analyze data and create, just faster data analysis. Are any of you guys using that or familiar?
I'm aware of Python being used to create apps, and now there's artificial intelligence where if you have an idea for an app, using basically an AI engine or an AI tool to create an app of your own, that's how I'm familiar with Python.
Yeah, I didn't do much of it. In the simplest form, Python is a programming language. If you use Barron computers, you can go in and code a lot of things that are custom, where you can generate spreadsheets. You can take a spreadsheet, feed it to the computer, and it creates the graphics for you. So on the basic level, it's not hard, but it could be. I mean, the word I was looking for was exploit.
Oh,
exploit the data to give you something that's worth showing and talking about.
All right. Yes.
Nate Johnson, NBC. I'm curious for the panel's thoughts about the product offering from the weather company, where they will synthesize your voice and maybe your image to create a lot of quantity of forecasts for lots of local, basically every town in your viewing area getting a custom forecast from Alan Seals. Is that a thing that y'all are comfortable with? What's the take on that from?
First, I'll just put it out there. Wow. If they paying right, you can take my voice. Write it down. If it got enough zeros behind it, you can see me in Spokane, Washington. That's fine. I think we all agree. Amen. I pass the torch.
And when I've left this experience, go ahead and pass it along to my children, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But what's NBC, by the way, I mean this half jokingly, what's NBC stake or investment now in the weather company, by the way?
Zero. We
Zero
haven't been part of the weather company in years.
But what you mentioned is very interesting. That's toward the beginning of our discussion, we were talking about understanding your rights and understanding what you own. Even if it happens to be written in stone, can it actually be challenged in a court of law? I'm talking, of course, from an American perspective. But can it be challenged in any sort of way? Just like was it non-competes are now being challenged on a state and national level, for example. It's very interesting the way things will be moving forward, and a lot of it, I think a lot of it's going to be eventually decided in the courts if we're talking about the United States. But until then, it's going to be very interesting.
So Nate, you said that our voice, our forecast.
The product right now is they call it Real Sphere.
I'll say that
audio, they're synthesizing your voice, and I think also, I'm not 100% sure of this, but some of the text. So you basically provide a forecast, and then it will essentially like local on the 8th. With
Right.
But instead of having to record every possible version, it will synthesize that based off of your voice. What do you contractual bits and dollars aside?
Yeah.
As human beings, what do you feel?
Diminished man.
Yeah,
Since you said contracts aside, since we all know what copyright, the word copyright and what it means, trademark and what it means, go ahead and record. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Go ahead and record your voice, take a picture of yourself, and try to copyright and trademark that. And just as a start, I mean, if you think that your station or a company may try and go ahead and move forward and try to do that in your place, go ahead and just try and do it yourself and see what happens. See if you can actually, can you copyright your voice print? Can you trademark your face? And see what happens. That's why.
But I'm trying to think about
your eyes are moving.
What you thinking about is my thought is that it could be.
Would you let them do it?
Would you let them do it? Right.
Like, I think about it because maybe the audience could get to know you a little bit better, and maybe that could help out with, I don't know.
Well, it depends. Like, say you're based somewhere, and you back when I was with Sinclair, we did that whole News Central thing. You're seeing me in Flint. You're seeing me in Buffalo, New York. I was over in Vegas at times. I was down in Pittsburgh. So I was on in different markets. But I was in Baltimore recording.
Right.
So, but this is almost like they're taking the same thing, but they might place you part of it. But if that's the part, I think that's a conversation that you say, are you good with that? Or if that's the job that you take, and it's almost like a national film. Weather Channel is national. That's a national thing. So that's the idea. I guess we're okay. But if say it's a local meteorologist in Indianapolis and the company who owns that station says, well, we want you to do the voicing for here again, then you have to say, is that, I'm a meteorologist in Indianapolis. Are we getting paid for these other markets? Or am I wiping other people's jobs out? So the question is what is the level of that, and also, you know, the ethics?
Because real talk, the heart of what you're getting at is compensation.
I think there's going to be a part of that.
Compensation, credit, and
sure. But also who's staying, because there's other meteorologists. I want to get Janice in here. Janice, hand and Alan.
I'm interested in the compensation, contract rights. Those are both huge things. I want to know on a human level, are you comfortable with that?
That's what
something that you want, that you're even open to, and what sort of things?
Okay, let me just get ooh. Okay, I gotta go with ooh, Janice. Give me a minute. Ooh, got it. And plus he's retired. So he only got so much time.
The answer is, it is inevitable that all companies will try to do that.
Yeah.
And that means when you apply for a job, if you accept your job, that's your duty. If you don't accept it, you're gambling that you can find a company that's not doing it. So that's the most practical.
But that should be written in that contract.
But the second half of it is
clarity.
To me, what would make it acceptable is if it is made clear this is an AI version of the guy or the girl you know. This is not really the person. That disclaimer that says this is really not
like
them.
the doctor's commercials. These are actors. Okay, real quick, Janice, and then I got to leave.
Okay, Janice Huff from WNBC in New York. Thank you all for your panel too, by the way.
Thank you, Janice.
Really, it all depends on your contract. What you sign, because most of the time what we sign, the stations have license to use you however they want to use you. In those cases, in these general contracts that you sign. So from the moment you see it and you see what it is, then know and understand, unless you have some other thing written in there that says, I only do this, this, and this, which I doubt it, or I'm only obliged to do this, that, and the other thing, they pretty much can have you do anything that they want you to do. I mean, you know, within reason. But like the big thing, this is technology that has come out. That is now in the forefront. It's here, Alan, right? It's already here. So how do we go about this from this point on, right? And if managers get when they get word of it that this is a possibility, then that also becomes a possibility that you may be obligated, or they may be able to use your voice at other stations or other entities or whatever.
Lee.
Yeah, so Leland Statham with WTVF in Nashville. I agree everything what Janice just said, but also don't think in the beginning as necessarily as this outside of your market, okay? I think as a Scripps station, as an NBC station, or a Hearst station, that could come down the line. But I think in the beginning, the thinking of this is weather on the 8th in your DMA. If they go to Roku and they're watching in Crossville, and then they go to Roku on the other side of my DMA, they're getting your voice in your DMA with the forecast, which then comes under the contract. And so it is the weather company's way of trying to do weather on the 8th in your DMA to begin with. Now, again, down the line, who knows if they start to think about other markets as they try to centralize things. But in the beginning, it's your contract in the DMA. I don't know if you've got much recourse after that.
Because we have all these entities and things that we have to provide information for now, not just our broadcast. It's a lot of different things. So I can see where that would be helpful in some ways for some stations, but also detrimental.
Well, I want to address it, and I think from what you exactly asked from the human standpoint, while in some ways, yes, I could see how it could be something that would be helpful and beneficial. And at first thought, you're thinking, oh, we're going to say the same forecast. It's partly cloudy and 45 degrees here, and it's sunny and 38 degrees in this part of the DMA, and we're just changing the name. It's New Orleans, it's Gramercy, it's Booty, it's Bogalusa. But I think it is very incumbent upon us to think about this from the aspect of, now this computer is putting words in your mouth that nobody's going to know the difference. And I don't want to be paid for that, because we're starting with the, oh, we're just changing the name of the town, oh, we're just giving a number, oh, we're just giving a sky condition. but this can very well say something that you would never say. And there is no real disclaimer that's ever going to take that back from somebody that listens to it.
And that's why, to your point, I was saying if I could view everything before it aired and it came in clips, you know, maybe, because otherwise your station's going to make you record these eventually on your own, make you get up there and do a different forecast for every single location. So to make it easier on myself, I'm like, hey, well, if I can view the ones that we're going to air for this period or day, hey, why not? I mean, I don't know. As long as I know what it's saying and if it looks accurate, but I do think there should be some type of notation that this is AI generated.
Right.
You know, so people aren't like, oh, she's a little robotic in this one, you know.
And when, but you know what? I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank everybody who came. I want to thank all our panelists. And most of all, I want to thank our fifth panelist who came in here and brought some fireworks, Nate. Thank you very much. That was good. So that sparked some great conversation, and these are real topics, and I think we can continue on with. Let's squeeze one more. Nakana, you're going to get your arm tired. Come on. Come on, bring it.
Because we did have a conflict. Our Weather and Climate Task Force, we did meet upstairs with a small handful of folks, but if you are interested in having your information and being a part of the task force,
oh, yes. Please get on there. We trying to expand. You know, remember, we're new. We've only been about 3 years in. You know, we had COVID, the one meeting, and then a couple of the meetings that we had. This is our third in-person meeting, and so we've never been represented at NABJ, so this is a big deal. You know, so jump in.
So be sure on social media to talk about this session and share a picture so that NABJ sees the value that we can fill a room talking about weather. Otherwise, stuff like this won't happen.
Take a group photo of all of us.
Yeah.
Let's do it.